If you're a Republican living in North Carolina, you probably already know this, but this weekend in Greensboro, North Carolina, the North Carolina Republican Party will hold its annual state convention at the Curry Convention Center. It takes place this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in Greensboro. Registration for the convention actually ended a few minutes ago at 5 p.m. on Tuesday before the convention. I don't know if there is a way to register after that deadline. You would have to call the GOP in Raleigh and ask about that. I don't know that there is, but if that's something you want to do, you will probably have to call and ask. A couple of important things happening at the convention this year. While we will not be electing a chairman, we elected a temporary chairman a couple of months ago under odd circumstances and in a very obscure location, but it was done. We will be electing representatives to the Republican National Committee. Every state in the union has 3 delegates on the Republican National Committee. Their state chairman from each state, and then 1 man and 1 woman from each state representing that state on the Republican National Committee. We will be electing those positions this weekend. The current committeeman and committeewoman are both seeking re-election to those positions. They both have oppositions. And while I don't know the individuals who are opposing the incumbents, I hope that they at least have a fair chance. I don't, to the best of my knowledge, we will not be using electronic voting systems the way that we did at the last convention for the chairman's vote, which ended it didn't go well. If you weren't in attendance, it did not go well at all. We will not be using that system this year. So hopefully this vote will be a bit more above board. Whether it turns out the way you want it to or not, hopefully it will at least be fair. We can say that. A couple of other things happening. There will be updates to the Plan of Organization. The NCGOP has a document called the Plan of Organization, and it essentially tells the world how the Republican Party operates and what the roles are of the various positions within the party. There are some minor updates to that plan that will be presented at the convention this weekend. I actually serve on the committee that wrote some of those changes, and if they were anything drastic, I would not have supported it. If you've seen any of my videos, you know how I feel about certain things, and I would not have supported these ideas if they were completely radical. And the changes that are being proposed are fairly benign, and I don't think anyone will have too much trouble getting behind them. There will also be a series of resolutions being proposed at this year's convention. And of course, if you're unaware, a resolution is it's basically a position that the party is choosing to take, a public position. Someone will present an idea and ask that the party get behind this idea in a public way. The first item on the resolution list, if I'm not mistaken, is a resolution to support the North Carolina House version of the U.S. House's anti-Semitism bill. Basically, if you weren't aware, a couple of weeks ago, the United States House of Representatives adopted a definition of anti-Semitism based on the definition from a private organization. I believe they're somewhere in Europe. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me. A few days later, the North Carolina House adopted an almost identical piece of legislation using the definition of anti-Semitism as defined by this private organization. That's one of the resolutions that will be up for debate. And there are others. And basically this resolution will just say that the North Carolina Republican Party supports this legislation. Whether the convention chooses to adopt that position or not is up for debate, but that's what the resolution says. And there are a series of other resolutions that are being presented. One of them, I think, is a pretty important one, will be the idea that the Republican Party believes members of the North Carolina, that's the state, Board of Education should be elected positions. Currently, they are appointed positions. This resolution will say that the North Carolina Republican Party wants the General Assembly to write a law that basically says these positions moving forward will be publicly elected and not appointed. That's a pretty good one. That's certainly one that I would support, and hopefully you would as well. A resolution that is not on the official docket is one that I personally wrote, and I've spoken to you about it a couple of times through these videos, and that is the idea of a censure vote for members of Congress who voted for the FISA reauthorization on, I believe it was April the 12th. But not only for voting for that legislation, but just before that, about half an hour before that vote, 3 North Carolina representatives, 3 Republicans who represent North Carolina in the United States House of Representatives, voted against an amendment to that legislation, which would have required a warrant before data owned by United States citizens could be viewed, collected, and ultimately used in some way by the government. A warrant would be required before that. And 3 Republicans from North Carolina voted against that warrant requirement. And then half an hour later voted for the full legislation without that warrant requirement. And in my opinion, a complete violation of not only their oath of office, but of the 4th Amendment to the Constitution. So I have written a resolution that would censure these 3 individuals: Congressman Patrick McHenry, Congressman Greg Murphy, and Congressman David Rouser. And these 3 men should be told by the party that we do not approve of this vote and that we will hold them responsible for the vote that they took. And my resolution has at the end, as a form of punishment, something most resolutions do not have, by the way. Most of them are simply a statement of disapproval. Mine has an actual punishment mechanism built in should it be adopted, and that is this. If this resolution is adopted, then starting immediately upon adoption, for a period of 5 years, these 3 men will receive no support of any kind from the North Carolina Republican Party. I think that's fair, given the fact that they took an oath to support and defend the Constitution and willfully voted against the Constitution itself. I think a 5-year slap on the wrist is the minimum. I would like to see much, much more. But given what I know about party leadership, even getting 5 years is going to be a stretch. So if you're planning to attend the convention this weekend, I hope you will consider my resolution. It will hopefully come up sometime on Saturday. I don't know exactly when that will happen. And even then it will be dependent on how much time is spent on other things. Because my resolution is not part of the official schedule, it will basically come at the end of everything else. So if there's time remaining, my resolution will hopefully be heard. But it depends on how quickly we move through everything else on the agenda. So the name of this podcast is 5 Minutes with Mike. This particular video is a little over 10 minutes. If you're still watching, I sincerely appreciate it. Please like this video, share it with everyone you know, particularly those who will be at the convention this weekend. And I will see you next time.